So we have with us today Edwin John. Thank you very much for joining us and for coming to talk to us about your work with the Community Neighborhood Network and with the Children's Parliaments. So some of the questions we'd like to ask you today tie back to the theme of the Commission for Social Development, which is social integration, and also specifically about the vision of the Community Neighborhood Network and the work surrounding Children's Parliaments. So let's begin. Maybe you can tell me how you became involved or began working with the concept of the neighborhood community networks.
Well, that would take quite a lot of time. That's a real story. The big question, how I began.
Okay. So maybe begin and we'll see where we go.
If you have time, I have
That's
no
okay.
problem talking.
Okay.
You see, those good old days while I was a student, there was a book from here, from America, and a movement from here. It was called Christopher's Movement.
Okay.
And there used to be one James Keller. He wrote that book, You Too Can Change the World. And the focus at the moment was every individual can make a contribution. Mm-hmm. And the slogan at the moment, it's better to light a candle than to curse darkness. Mm-hmm. So he was getting people to realize that they all have a role to play and they too have the power in them to affect changes in the world. Mm-hmm. And I used to be interested in that, getting people to do something to change the world. Mm-hmm. And then I used to study a lot on this motivational psychology, how to get people involved and commit themselves. As I was doing like that, I got to know the power of the groups. And there was, I think, in late 1960s, there were books like, Groups Alive, Church Alive, Power. Mm-hmm. But then the group dynamics was emerging as a science. Mm-hmm. And then I got interested in groups. Mm-hmm. And then, but my main interest was in the mass media. Okay. So I was studying journalism. I went from India to the Philippines to study journalism there. And there, while I was there, something that changed my shift of emphasis is on the studies on the effects of mass media. Okay. There was one Joseph Clapper. This man was trying to put together the various conclusions of the various researches done all over the world with regard to the efficacy of mass media. Mm. And he came to that conclusion. His conclusion was, the media help more to reinforce than to change. Mm. And then if at all they change, it is more in the realm of minor attitudinal changes and not in the realm of well-established attitudinal changes. Mm-hmm. And so, if you want somebody to say, to change completely a kind of a conversion like that, media is not the one to be dependent upon entirely. Then there were again studies on where the media is more effective and where the media is less effective. And where the media is more effective, in extensive level it is more effective. That means, information, nothing like it to reach. Then creating a kind of awareness on it, creating certain kind of interest in it. So like this, extensive level more, and as it comes down, to the level of decision making, implementation, follow up, and all these things. This effect of the media comes down and down. And there something else takes over. That is the realm of interpersonal relationships. Okay. So how do we combine the effect of the mass media extensive effect of the multiple and the intensive effect of the interpersonal relationships. So one of the things suggested those days was, kind of small groups, form them in thousands. And then like the concept behind farmers, radio clubs and so on. Have groups, then give them message. The groups are there to interact, to get to one another, to get over the various internal filters the fellow has got, and then to withstand the various pressures against change. Then their interpersonal relationship comes and helps. So that's in the groups. Then extensionally the media comes to feed them with the matters for discussion, information, ideas and so on. A kind of combined effect would be better. That's the idea. And then I was just thinking on that. At that time I came to know about the Latin American basic Christian communities.
Okay.
What they did in Latin America, the big parishes formed into small neighborhood communities called base communities. And basic ecclesial Christian communities they call like that. The idea is small sized forums. And then the wider forum like a parish becomes the coming together, a communion of communities like that.
Okay.
So there I also, that kind of networking is very important. Because they can come together thousands of groups. They need to be federated if they have to be a force, a decisive force. Then that was very appealing to me. And why was a parish then in one parish? Then I tried to start this in the parish in 1977. And then now within these 30 years, it has become the normal thing in all the parishes, more or so to say, in India, all the dioceses in India. This parish becomes a community, a communion of small neighborhood-based communities. And then I said this cannot remain merely at the church level. And then if you want a new world, it's not through the church people alone we are going to our work. We have to work with all people of goodwill. So how do we do that? How do we involve them all in the process of change? Then I said, why not we have neighborhood communities instead of where people of all religions, whoever there is in the neighborhood, come together. So territorially organized neighborhood communities. Why not we go for that? And then I evolved the concept of neighborhood communities and then started working for that. Neighborhood communities about 30 families each. And then later I thought, I don't know, why not we stress this political dimension a little more, because I could see the immense political possibilities of that neighborhood concept and its federations, multi-tier federations. Then I said, it's good to get people think on that. So why not we call it neighborhood parliaments? So parliaments, the word was a very convenient word because parlare is to talk. And parliament is only a talking forum. And people are the ones supposed to rule, and they are coming together, sitting in a talking forum to see what would be their priorities and what should be their decision. That's the beginnings of what we call rule by people.
Did this appeal to them? The change in the name, was it appealing?
Gradually, more and more people are taking it seriously. Because as I see, good many people are disillusioned with the present structures of government. They say every time we speak for a change and something worse happens, what is the real problem? We want a corruption-free government, accountable government. It happens somewhat, but in other ways it goes backwards also. We want a just world through these democratic structures, but it's not always a just and equal world that is emerging, world of equality that's emerging. These things also lead to high inequalities. What could be the reason? People have been getting disillusioned and searching. And when I suggest this neighborhood parliament concept, they see maybe there is, they see there's a point like. And good many are taking it seriously. I have been giving the concert at various groups, social workers groups, universities and various places. And they are more and more saying, okay, that's possible. And that way we evolved a new dream. And the dream is one of a multi-tier global federation of neighborhood parliaments of about 30 families each, territorially organized. And then for this neighborhood parliaments and their federations, we gave some guiding principles. One principle we said is principle of smallness of size.
So you limit the number of families.
That means, we say the bigger a forum gets to be, the more it becomes the game of the big voices. And the small voices don't have the reach. So they go unheard, unattended to, more or less voiceless.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a system now where by having basic constituencies big, we ensure systemically that poor people don't have any voice except once in 5 years or 4 years or so, on a token basis to choose between two
Larger
candidates
voices, yeah.
over whose selection anyway the people didn't have any say. Some two power structures decide, and the people have to choose between, so to say, between the devil and the deep sea, like that. And that becomes the democracy without much content to the choice. Now if people really do have their say, their problems will be addressed. So we want to ensure that the last and the least person has constantly a say. And what is the way? We say make the forum small, both at the neighborhood and at every other level. If it is a global federation, even the global parliament need only to be a small face-to-face community, because by having too many people, you are not having a wiser decision.
Yeah.
Okay. But if it is well federated, everybody could feel that their voice is heard, and still a few people could manage one. And then our own Mahatma Gandhi, of India, and he used to say, one cannot go on fooling a face-to-face community for long. So, smallness, ensures that nobody stands behind anybody else, hides behind anybody else. Everybody is answerable, accountable, and the situation becomes transparent. One. Then second principle we gave, it should be, federation should be in a numerically uniform pattern.
Okay.
That means, once you have so many neighborhood, so many houses, the first level parliament, neighborhood parliaments. Once you have so many first level parliament, second level parliament, everything according to a number pattern means.
Okay.
If the whole world gets organized this way, it will be a new pattern entirely. There will not be scope for bigger districts, smaller districts, bigger states, smaller state, bigger nation, smaller station, and everybody will belong equally. And feel that everybody is placed at an equally advantageous distance from decision-making centers. That would mean that when everybody feels that equally why do they fight for a boundary war like that? Fight a boundary war for a bigger nation, smaller nation, be here, our nation, your nation, need not to be. Okay. And then another thing, we say the third principle, subsidiarity. Subsidiarity means, suppose this is main level, this becomes subsidiary. Next level, this becomes main, this becomes subsidiary. So principle of subsidiarity is whatever can be done at any subsidiary level, don't take it to any higher level. And higher levels are to deal with only those matters that no lower level can handle. That means if you have that principle, consultations, participation, importance, dynamism, everything, action, everything at the lowest levels possible. Then everybody feels that he is somebody, not a non-person. Somebody else decides somebody else's world, we have nothing to do. No.